Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we take a deep dive into one of the most surprising and symbolic events of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Ukrainian drone strike on the Moscow city towers, a business hub valued at over $1.3 billion and considered one of the jewels of modern Russia's capital. This strike has not only shocked the Russian public, but has also caught the attention of the international community, signaling a new phase in the war where long-range precision, symbolism, and psychological impact seem just as important as traditional battles on the front lines. In this analysis, we will explore the different aspects of this event in detail, including the exterior impact on the towers, the interior damage, the performance of Ukrainian drones, the safety features of Russian defenses, the unique selling points of this attack, the financial cost and price of the event, and finally, the overall conclusion about its significance. When we first look at the exterior, the Moscow city towers represent more than just architecture. They were designed as a showcase of Russia's global ambition, often compared to New York's Manhattan or London's financial district. These sleek glass and steel skyscrapers symbolize economic progress, modernity, and Russia's attempt to display itself as a key global financial center. The drone strike that damaged their facades tore open not just physical glass, but the image of strength and invulnerability that the Kremlin tries to project. Videos and photos from the scene showed smoke rising from the damaged sections, shards of glass littering the streets, and firefighters rushing to control the situation. For ordinary Russians, seeing their proud skyline marred by a strike was a visible reminder that the war, once thought to be distant, has reached right into the beating heart of Moscow. For the international audience, this exterior destruction showed how even the most heavily guarded locations are no longer immune from Ukraine's growing capabilities. Inside the towers, the picture was equally striking, though less visually dramatic. The interior damage included collapsed ceilings, broken glass scattered across office floors, overturned furniture, and burnt wiring. Employees and business staff reported chaos as alarms rang and emergency responders moved in. Many described the panic of evacuation and the disbelief that drones had penetrated so far into Moscow's defenses. Although Russian authorities quickly moved to contain the damage and reassure the public, the reality inside those walls reflected the fragility of the infrastructure and the sudden vulnerability of one of Russia's most prestigious spaces. The psychological damage inside the interior of those offices may prove harder to repair than the physical cracks, as workers and business leaders alike will now carry with them the memory of what it means to be directly in the line of fire. The performance of the Ukrainian drones in this strike is perhaps the most remarkable feature. Ukraine has been investing heavily in the development of drones, both domestically produced and modified commercial models. The fact that these drones traveled hundreds of kilometers to reach Moscow and still managed to evade advanced air defense systems demonstrates not only technical success, but strategic innovation. The drones were relatively low cost, yet they penetrated a city protected by one of the most complex defense networks in the world, including radar, anti-aircraft missile systems, and electronic jamming technologies. This performance proved that asymmetric warfare gives Ukraine an edge by allowing it to use inexpensive tools to outsmart far more costly defensive systems. The strike revealed the limits of Russian radar coverage and raised serious questions about the reliability of Moscow's layered defenses. If a skyscraper in the capital's financial hub can be struck, then what else is vulnerable? Russia's safety features were tested in real time during the strike. Air defense batteries were activated, and reports indicate that some drones were intercepted, but at least one made it through and hit the towers. The fact that any drones at all reached the towers suggests that safety protocols were inadequate. Moscow has long promoted the idea that it is shielded by multiple defensive rings, yet the success of this Ukrainian attack undermined that narrative. Ordinary citizens, who had believed the war was contained to Ukraine's territory, began to realize that safety inside Russia could not be guaranteed. For many Muscovites, the sirens, explosions, and smoke were a first-hand experience of the kind of fear and uncertainty that Ukrainians have lived with for over a year. while Russia scrambled to reassure its people by displaying anti-aircraft units on rooftops and increasing patrols. The psychological blow to public confidence in safety was already dealt. The unique selling point of this strike lies in its symbolism. Unlike an attack on a military base or weapons depot, this was a direct strike on Russia's pride and prestige. The Moscow city towers are not just offices. They are a symbol of Russia's attempt to project modernity, wealth, and integration with the global economy. By hitting this location, Ukraine sent a message that even Russia's most glamorous and carefully presented structures are not untouchable. The choice of target was deliberate, designed to capture global media attention and to highlight the contrast between Ukraine's resilience and Russia's vulnerability. The strike also served as a warning that economic centers are legitimate targets as long as Russia continues its aggression. This kind of symbolic warfare has consequences that go beyond the battlefield. It reshapes perceptions, undermines morale, and shifts the balance of psychological power in the conflict. The financial cost of this attack is layered. In terms of immediate damage, the strike caused millions of dollars in repairs to the towers, including replacing glass facades, restoring electrical systems, and securing the structures. Insurance companies are now facing the challenge of covering claims in a high-risk war environment, likely pushing premiums much higher for companies operating in Moscow. But the larger cost is reputational and long-term. Foreign investors, already wary of doing business in Russia due to sanctions and political instability, will now see Moscow not just as politically risky, but also physically unsafe. Business confidence is undermined when iconic skyscrapers can be struck by drones. The ripple effects on investment, trade, and financial stability could multiply the financial cost far beyond the initial damages. Some experts estimate that the long-term economic ripple may well run into billions of dollars as confidence drains from Russia's financial markets. In the broader picture, the conclusion that emerges is powerful. The drone strike on Moscow's city towers was not just another event in the ongoing war, but a turning point in perception. It revealed the weaknesses in Russian defense, highlighted Ukraine's growing technological prowess, and delivered a symbolic blow that resonated far beyond the physical damage caused. It showed the world that the war is not confined to trenches, artillery duels, or occupied territories. It can now reach into the heart of Moscow itself, shaking the image of Russia's strength and invulnerability. For Ukraine, this strike boosted morale, signaling that despite Russia's larger military machine, innovation and determination can level the playing field. For Russia, it was a wake-up call that the war it started can have consequences at home, threatening its own symbols of power and wealth. As we look ahead, the implications of this strike are profound. Ukraine will likely continue to refine its drone capabilities, aiming for both military and symbolic targets. Each successful strike not only causes damage, but also forces Russia to divert resources, increase defenses, and face the growing unease of its population. Russia, in turn, will respond with harsher rhetoric, tighter security, and potentially more aggressive military actions, but the image of vulnerability will be hard to erase. The world now sees that the war has entered a new stage where technology, psychology, and symbolism are as critical as tanks and artillery. The story of the Moscow City Towers drone strike will be remembered not just for the broken glass and disrupted offices, but for the way it changed the narrative of the conflict. It underscored that the cost of war is not only borne by those on the battlefield, but also by those who believe themselves safe in the gleaming towers of Moscow. The towers will be repaired, the glass will be replaced, but the memory of smoke rising over Moscow's skyline will remain a haunting reminder of a war that refuses to stay confined. For Russia, it was a demonstration of vulnerability. For Ukraine, it was a demonstration of reach. And for the world, it was proof that in modern warfare, symbols can be as powerful as weapons,